Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Decod3rs channel one more time. Today we have Jericho and Socrates from the Syndicate project, a project where it's basically an aggregator of news for your Discord, so you can stay informed and what's up in the crypto world. That's really gonna be interesting, and I hope you're gonna enjoy the show. And by the way, it's gonna be hosted with a Vpiphany, so it's gonna be even better. But before we start the conversation with them, let me talk to you a little bit about Decod3rs so you know exactly what you are doing on this channel. So basically, we are the first decentralized and community-owned YouTube channel. And by doing that, we are adding a Web3 layers to the creator's economy. So the way it works is pretty simple. For every video that you're going to watch on this YouTube channel, we are going to mint the thumbnail and raffle them. And if you win it, you will get the ownership of the video and a portion of the revenue. And by doing that, we are basically aligning the financial incentive between content creators and their own community. So the best thing you can do right now is to subscribe to this channel, watch every video of it, because we track everything and the participation of your comments and your watch time, etc. And just enjoy the show, and hopefully you will get some good information about what we talk about with Syndicate and Jericho, Socrates, and Vpiphany. But let's welcome them on the channel and start the show. Yo, welcome everyone.
Hello.
How are you guys?
I'm awesome. That was an awesome intro.
Thank you. Getting better and better after 8 streams, man.
It is 6 weeks in. We got it.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
got it on lock.
Thank you, guys. Let's talk about you guys. Let's talk about Syndicate, what you're doing, why you are doing it. And let's start with Jericho and Socrates, who are you and why are you building Syndicate?
Yeah, for sure. I can go ahead and kind of give a little bit about me. So my name is Socrates. I have been in Web3 for, I guess, a little bit over a year now. I went to school for industrial engineering, and then I ended up just going full-time Web3. So I've been kind of working here.
Nice.
I do a whole bunch of different stuff in this space. We'll touch on Syndicate and what we got going on there. But I am also one of the project founders for High Voltage, which is an OG collection that we'll touch a little bit about, which is the first Solana NFT to reward holders with Bitcoin mining profits. Super interesting story there. But I have a background in education and tutoring and program design and kind of that whole spiel. But I've since used those skills to kind of do other things in this space, including host a show of my own called Making Time, where I have creators on my space every day where I ask them deep questions about their personal journey through Web3. I had Vpiphany here on one of my spaces before, and Vince, I'd hope to have you on sometime soon in the future. But I work on that show. I'm also involved with Trust Labs. I am their Discord security specialist. So I do Discord audits for different collections around Solana. And those are kind of the core things about me and what I got going on. I'm also a thread writer on Twitter. So you can go to my profile and check out some of the content I write. And that's a little bit about me. Jericho, if you want to go ahead.
You're busy, man.
Yeah, he's a busy guy, but he's also the GOAT. Socrates is the GOAT. He works a lot. He does a lot of stuff with Syndicate and a lot with his personal brand on Twitter. So yeah, he's the best. But with Socrates, he's been here for about a year in Web3. For me, I've been here for about over 3 years, over 3 years. And within my first year of crypto, I fell in love with Bitcoin in particular and proof of work. And within my first year, I created a crypto mining company. I scaled that to 6 figures of assets under management within a year. And then, I looked at Solana and I saw, there's no NFT on Solana that has Bitcoin mining utility. It's never been done before. And I felt like I was in a great position to do that because of my expertise in Bitcoin mining. We could host the miners at my mining facility. So that's why we created High Voltage. I brought on Socrates. He was still in school at the time, dropped out to do High Voltage. And it was an awesome experience. We started in January of last year, and then we finally did our mint, I believe, in February the same year. Didn't fully sell out, but we raised a good amount of funds. And then the following month, we did another mint, and we minted that out in 5 minutes. So it was awesome. Unfortunately, though, after we minted our second collection, our mining facility got hit by a tornado. Incredible story, pretty unreal, honestly. I'm sure Vpiphany has scars as well as us about the whole problem. But yeah, that made our mining facility go down for about 4 months. And then within that 4 months, me and Socrates, we didn't want to leave the space. We were really invested in Solana and its community, and we're like, what can we build? What can we do? And we don't want to leave. So, we took on some like advisory jobs. We did some this and that. Socrates became one of the biggest Discord security experts in the space. But the biggest thing was we created Syndicate. And we were like, Syndicate, there is no, news platform on Discord, where Discord is like the main, like that's where all of Web3 and NFTs intersect. All the news is on Twitter, but where is it on Discord? So we created Syndicate. We launched our news product last month, and we onboarded over 106 communities onto our project or onto our network within that month. And currently we're at 160 communities, reaching 350,000 Discord members. So it's been a really rapid launch for us, but definitely we couldn't have been here without amazing community members and friends such as Vpiphany, who has stuck with us since the beginning. There's been a lot of people like Vpiphany, and without them, we would probably not be here. So thank you guys too much for that.
No, I am a high voltage holder. I did not mint though. I only entered Solana a little bit after you guys minted.
That's bombshell.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I know, but we've been friendly for a long time. It started with Jericho's GMs, because Jericho used to always put out a GM MFR, and actually I do GM MFR now, probably because of you, if I think about it. But yeah. So we did that, and then I joined HV and didn't go exactly to plan. Act of God, all of that stuff. But yeah, no, I just really loved, Jericho and I are in a bunch of group chats, and we always stayed in contact. And I was like, don't give up. It's going to be fine. I'm not going anywhere. I just remember us going back and forth about that, because there were some times where it was really hairy because people just didn't understand like why it was taking so long. But you guys have come out the other side of that, and I'm so proud of you. Like, this is incredible.
It's been a pretty interesting journey. I didn't know we're going to end up making a news, media company within a year. So, yeah. But thank you.
Yeah, and that's definitely an interesting topic, like, to get through, because, like, yeah, again, like, everyone is getting the news on Twitter and crypto Twitter, right? But like, it's messy as fuck, and you can miss a news like quite easily. So yeah, like this problem is like easy, like not easy, but like interesting to solve at least. I know your product is working pretty well. Like, to prepare this cast, I installed Syndicate on the Decod3rs Discord, and it's cool. Like, it's really efficient.
Yeah, we designed it to, in on Twitter in particular, you're oftentimes in your echo chamber of the community members you follow. You don't get the news of the bad, the good, and the ugly, and we want to break that echo chamber and expose you to maybe some things aren't that great in the NFT space, and maybe some things are really good. I don't know, but yeah, we've covered a bunch of NFT collections, a bunch of Web3 companies. So yeah, we give you guys a lot of exposure from Syndicate.
And just on that topic, right? Like, we've gotten feedback on Syndicate about how during the bonk euphoria, the only way people kind of kept up with what was going on was through our Discord server or through our Discord platform, right? Because whenever you have things like bonk and these big catalyst events that happen, it really explodes on your timeline, and it hides everything else, right? Everything else kind of takes the back seat while the euphoria, is there. So what we have with Syndicate and things along those lines really help to keep users in Web3 more knowledgeable in a way that's a little bit more calm than your typical Twitter timeline. But yeah, and I'm glad you enjoyed the design and the layout and what it looks like. Jericho and I literally debate on what it should look like for hours. We little arrows we deliberate on, we debate about, links, what the link should look like, the formatting, the design. Yeah, we spend a lot of time on that, so I'm glad you guys enjoy it for sure.
This sounds vaguely familiar, though. Fiddler.
I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
We've been going back and forth about design for about 24 hours now, so I feel you.
It's the best discussion, right? Like, yeah, why did you put this blue here, or like this arrow here? That's the best ones.
Yeah, for sure. No,
Yeah.
we totally get that, and it's hours.
Yeah.
It gets heated too.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so do you aggregate news from different like sources, or do you write your own like article on your own platform?
Yeah, so it's a few things. So our news is broken up to different sections. So our first section is Solana NFT news, right? So we get hundreds of basically announcements and sometimes tips on what is going on with those projects, and then we write all that news. As for our crypto news, we get that news primarily from third-party sources such as CoinDesk or Decrypt. When we expand our team eventually, then we can start investigating things on our own. But until then, we're just going to aggregate news from different sources. We provide a daily summary of what's going on in the crypto world. We provide daily market statistics for the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow, ETH, Bitcoin, and Sol. And we also provide Solana NFT stats of the daily volume and the change from the previous day, the daily buyers and the change, and sellers and the change. And we get all this information from different sources as well. So yeah, a lot of our news is aggregated.
Yeah, okay, that's nice. And so all of that is automated, right?
No, actually, it's all handwritten. So yeah, it's all handwritten by me and Socrates every morning.
Okay, that's cool.
But we're pretty efficient. We get it done real quick.
Yeah. And the big reason why we do that is a lot of so we could just scrape the data and put them onto our embed or things along those lines, but it's not very coherent and it's hard to get the information you need, because what we're trying to design Syndicate to be is you read that's all you need to read and you're done. We don't want it to just be, well, you're done for the day, hopefully. But we just, the way the data is presented in these news things, it's just not really possible to scrape certain parts of it and be done like that. So we kind of add that human element to it and allow it to be a little bit more understandable. So yeah.
Oh, we have also nuance. We include nuance into what is going on as well, because sometimes, oftentimes, a project, for example, post announcement, but you don't really know why are they doing a Gen 2, what happened there, and when we provide that nuance.
That's dope. That's dope. And so do you also have analytics, not analytics, but your own thought to the news? Do you editorialize the news, or you just share it raw?
Yeah, so I can touch on my bit, and then you can add on. So we split up the delegation. Jericho and I have our own process. He's largely NFT centric, and I am more Web3 news, crypto news oriented. Whenever I write my content with the news, I read the articles in depth, and I sometimes compare them between news sources. So oftentimes there will be a CoinDesk article, then a forecast article, then just throughout all of the sources, and then I kind of aggregate. Okay, what's the most critical information here, and how can I present that in a manner that's friendly to our audience? And then that's why if you ever read through the Syndicate information or the news post, it's really concise. I try to keep it under 3 sentences, and that's kind of the goal we're aiming for. And Jericho, you talk a little bit about your process as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, my process is a little bit different than Socrates. He is basically going to the same handful of news sources and then aggregating that data and putting his human touch on it. Whereas I'm skipping through, a million Discord servers, looking at announcements, looking at Twitter posts, looking at all this different stuff and getting what is the most relevant NFT news for the day. So, it's a much more hunting process, I guess. I'm just looking through a lot of stuff to find the news. But when I do, I post the current floor price they're at and the change of floor price once they posted that announcement. So today or yesterday, actually, TFF Foxy Dev posted a project update, and that TFF fame upgrades were live. The floor actually dropped after that. So that was interesting. And I also take the NFTs on Magic Eden and make them all the thumbnails for the news as well.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So it's if you have to be efficient, because that's still a lot of work to do that every day.
It is, yeah, but we've kept it under pretty like 40
Yeah.
minutes every day. So
Yeah, we can
Nice.
do it under
Or
40
really
minutes.
fast.
Yeah, we
Incredible.
we spend a lot of time. Jericho and I are efficiency nerds, so
Yeah.
like we've had multiple conversations where we kind of sit down and talk. Okay, so if you do this while I do this, then I can do this then, and then this gets done. And yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
convoluted on the outside, but when you look inside, it's like we're a machine. So yeah.
That's pretty. I love it. And what's the end goal? Like, are you becoming like the next Web3 media company?
There's a lot of things, we've thought about of what is the end goal, but currently we just want to provide as much value as possible and see if there's actually demand for the value we're providing. And obviously there is. So Syndicate has gone through a million billion iterations. And me and Socrates understand that no company in Web3, especially something within the NFT space, they shouldn't really set like super long-term goal, like five-year goal, because the space changes so rapidly, right? There were projects that are built entirely off of royalties, and they're all gone now because their long-term goal didn't align with what happened in the space. So for us, we just want to build products that people will use and people will enjoy, and then with that, maybe we can find some way to monetize it. For now, that free value is big for us.
Yeah, and
Okay, yeah,
just
that
to add
makes
to
sense.
this, one thing, I mean, this is true for life in general. The only constant is change. Like the only thing that's going to happen for sure is change, and that's true for business as well. And when Jericho says we pivoted the vision of Syndicate 100 quadrillion times, he's not exaggerating. We've been through it. We've had different iterations of our product and what that might look like and what consumers need, but as you grow your company and you have a bigger vision and you have more people involved, you get new eyes on what's going on, and then you can kind of adapt accordingly, right? And when it comes to Web3, there's so many different things that happen and so many new things every day that you have to stay agile and you have to keep your options open. And that's one thing we've been incredibly diligent about and smart about when it comes to Syndicate, is leaving things a little bit open-ended. Right, we have a direction and we have ideas at the moment and where we might want to go, but we're totally open to new possibilities and where those roads might take us.
Yeah, but you will always be around like the news and / media activity, right? Like even if you pivot from Discord like news, you can tomorrow launch a platform that will be like an aggregation of your own articles, again with like your own analyze, you analyze the market, the NFT, etc. But you will still be around that top of news. So like the core mission of like Syndicate will always be the same, right?
Yeah, growing the network is going to be a constant mission for us. As long as we keep on growing the network, then we can be more weary of how we actually monetize things and take the business.
And do you have like a business model ideas? Like how are you going to monetize your audience, or like what's the future looks like for this monetization and business orientation?
Yeah, for sure. We have a million billion ways of monetizing the network. It's a powerful thing because no one else is like Syndicate. No one has a Discord network of hundreds of communities, hundreds of thousands of Discord members. So one of the main things is expanding news offerings, right? Can we provide additional value beyond morning news and maybe make that a paid subscription, such as in-depth charting news or DeFi news or cross-chain news? That's been a huge thing of people have been asking for us. So cross-chain news is big, and having subscriptions behind that. So we're currently in the testing phase of that, of seeing if there's interest for that, and seeing like what the right pricing model is for that. But beyond the subscriptions is sponsored news, and this has also been a big thing. So our network gets a lot of reach. We reach a lot of people, and these people are unlike normal people. They are proven minters, and they're within a community where they can converse about what they saw in the news, what they are minting, stuff like that. So sponsored news, we will allow anybody, any business, NFT projects, whatever, to promote upcoming news into our network, and they can promote things such as a mint, a service, a product, or any relevant news or big announcements they want to share. So those are the two key monetization models we see in the future. But in terms of other ways, we have, we're looking to do an NFT collection, right?
Yes.
So that NFT is going to be Syndicate Synths. If you own an HV, you get a free airdrop for the synth. But with the sense it's not really a business model for us. It serves two purposes. It's going to be funding the growth of Syndicate and also marketing. So yeah,
that's
we have
great.
a lot of we've thought about this very extensively, and we have a bunch of financial models in the back. So
Nice. Yeah.
So
That's cool.
I'm gonna be a synth holder soon. That's
Well,
what I've learned
Absolutely.
so far.
Yeah.
100%.
It's cool.
One thing I wanted to mention about
go on.
monetization real quick, sorry about that,
Yeah.
is one thing about Syndicate that's been a super awesome experience on our end is the immense number of testimonials of people reading and thoroughly enjoying our content, which is very atypical of kind of infrastructure, people building infrastructure in this space, right? So like Jericho was just telling us in the team about how he was in an AMA, and then they were like, "Oh, no way, you're the Syndicate guy? I read that every day."
That was crazy. That was a crazy. I was like, "What the heck?"
It's really crazy, and it just shows like Syndicate goes deeper than we could ever anticipate, right? Like we have ways of which we measure how many people view what we're doing, right? Like we have a polling feature on our news, but our reach really does go beyond that, right? Like we've become routine in a lot of people's day-to-day journey in crypto, and it's just been beautiful to watch that flourish and grow. And it's something we really hope to preserve and kind of leverage for the company moving forward. So it's it's something I would nerd out about. Yeah, go ahead, Jericho.
Socrates, I'm gonna piggyback off you, and I'll toss it back to you, Vince. But going like the polling is so big. What Socrates mentions every morning, our news has a daily poll, and this does a few things for us. Like one, sometimes we ask for feedback in our poll. So unlike other businesses, we have a huge, like a mega huge base of people where we can just ask questions and test what people want. That's huge for us. Another thing too is we can also test sentiment, right? We can ask people about what do you guys think about the market or the long-term future, the short-term future of Solana or Bitcoin? What do you think about this NFT collection? What do you think about this type of news? And we can gauge the sentiment of the entire Solana community. And with that, we can do various things. But Vpiphany gave us a great idea to make a space that is centered around these type of polls. So, and we're looking to do it. And you should keep her. She's amazing.
That's what she's doing. Only great ideas.
Yeah, the polls is a major thing.
Yeah, it's good because it gives you like more interaction with like the people who are reading, and like you don't have that in your contest article, for example.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And then if you're in Syndicate Discord, they have these things called quests, and they ask a question each day to like engage the community. I really enjoyed that, I have to say. Yeah, you're trying a new format though. I've noticed there's a new format on that. Is that correct?
Yeah. One thing, actually, just to touch on this. So one thing on we're trying to do Syndicate, and so one thing to understand about Syndicate is our whole brand is Syndicate Create, right? And whatever we're trying to do, we're trying to enable and promote the growth of creators. And one thing you mentioned is the quest system, which we're doing, which is a daily question of which I ask the community, which could be something like, what is your favorite movie, for example? And what we plan to do with that is amass a list of responses from our community and then build resources from that, right? So let's say we have 20 movies that are our favorite community members' movies. Bam, we just made a favorite movie list that, if you need a movie recommendation, now you can pull from it. Right. So that's kind of the plan of what we're trying to do with our community, and what we're doing is kind of mobilize our community to build these resources of which other people can benefit from. Right. So one thing I plan on doing today's question would be, what was your greatest mistake in Web3? Right. And then now we have a list of mistakes of which newcomers can come and let's see, okay, let me not do that. And that's a power of community I haven't seen tapped into this space. And I figured, why don't we just do that? So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
No, that's definitely an interesting point. Yeah, go for it.
The worst mistake, probably buying ETH NFTs, if I'm honest.
Wow.
I'm just like have zero luck with ETH NFTs. But also I started on ETH, so like I really didn't know what I was doing. So there's a little bit of that to be said. But then I returned to ETH recently, and it was like a travesty. It was like 24 hours, and I was like, I'm never coming back to ETH.
Bye.
Yeah, Jericho has horror stories too.
I got rugged.
Oh,
I got rugged with the Solana.
Yeah.
So.
More on ETH and Sol?
No. I got rugged way more in Sol than ETH, but I love Sol.
Really? No, I have to say, like those gas fees, they are a rug right in
That's a
themselves.
rug. Yeah, that's a passive rug.
by itself.
16. I had to stake 15 NFTs, and it cost me like, and okay, ETH was a little higher than it is now, but it cost me like $250. And I was like, I thought that was like life, and I was like, I'm gonna be so poor at the end of this. They said I'd be rich, but I'm gonna be poorer than ever. Yeah. So ETH is not my preference.
Yes.
Let's say.
So you stake your NFT, it costs you like $250, and then the NFT rugs. So that's
yeah.
that's a net
Actually,
negative.
they are high voltage. They are the ETH high voltage, right? So so they haven't been mining because it's not worthwhile recently. So it's not that they've rugged; they've just been dormant because it wasn't worth. It wasn't worth doing at the time.
Yeah. I mean, like the mining activity is kind of interesting one, but like it's an interesting like a question for you, like Jericho. But like for the mining, like I was even thinking like to mine with ETH like last year, 2 years ago, I think. But then when you have like NFTs and then like the infrastructure requirement that are like you need to get to mine like even Bitcoin or ETH. But on the NFTs, when you have staking, it's kind of like the same vibes ish, and I prefer to stake.
The same vibes, yeah.
Yeah.
It is,
so like mining NFT is easier than mining Bitcoin on ETH.
Yeah.
Hangjack is trolling me in the comments.
Which one?
Hangjack, rice and peas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No curry go for you.
Yeah. And by the way, like, can you embed videos in your Syndicate fees? I'm just asking for a friend.
Yeah,
we can embed GIFs. I don't think videos.
Well, we can do so
like displaying videos.
So
go ahead.
So if you want, let me sorry,
go ahead. No, you're good.
Okay, so we can, in the news embed itself, we can put in a GIF, as Jericho mentioned.
Okay.
But if, let's say we wanted to send a YouTube video. So whenever you send a YouTube video into Discord, it'll automatically turn that into an embed. It'll have like a companion embed with that. So we can do technology like that, which is like if someone's, let's say, wanted to promote like, I don't know, a YouTube video, it would be sent as like the link with the companion embed that has the YouTube formatting. Nice. I think you can. There's some stuff we could do, like send an actual file, like a video file, but then that you won't get traffic for that. And there's some other things we can do with video. But long story short, we can't add videos directly to the weekly news. That's
yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And like, say this question, Decod3rs News, when can we do that? But and that would be interesting because like, I mean, like, it's not like like you don't want to push like every announcement on every project that you are into a syndicate like news. That doesn't really make sense, right? Or it can, I don't know, it can be sponsored. Push, I don't know, like you pay, like the project pay to get you distributed to the syndicate news. That could be cool, like a B2B model with that.
Yeah, all I'm saying is you're thinking how we're thinking.
You are thinking how we're thinking.
I mean,
there's a lot of things you can do.
Sorry, isn't Decod3r News your recap each week though?
Yeah, but there is that. But like, if a project can be in like every fucking Discord of Solana ecosystem. No.
Absolutely.
That's massive. Like that would be so cool. Absolutely. But then like the tricky part of it is like not making a fucking spam channel. Like you don't want like, we're gonna delay or whatever, and then it's redistributed everywhere, right? So it could be interesting for project to get even like more like eyes on the announcement.
All right, Ramo's saying no. I meant news about Decod3rs. Soon, Ramo. Soon.
Ramo, just stay on our Discord and watch for the announcement channel, So about the sponsor content, like in the media industry, like you have that kind of model, right? Like when you have like sponsor articles and like that end up by being like not manipulative, but like tricky, at least like a non, how can I say? I'm losing my English word here. Like non-biased news, you know what I mean? Like if you have the owner of like whatever outlet, and then they're gonna like the journalists have the missions to like write a nice article about XYZ like news, a nicer article than another journal. But like, how do you want to do better than that model, which is basically outdated too, right? Like it doesn't make sense in the age of internet and Web3 to replicate like what we are seeing right now in like New York Times or Washington Post, whatever bullshit articles you can see there. And like solving that issue for Web3 news.
Yeah, so it's a few things. So whenever someone, going to what sponsored news is, it's essentially someone can pay syndicates and we will push whatever news that they want us to push. But there's a few caveats, right? We audit the news. We need to know what the content is of what's going out. And we need to see if it's appropriate for a Discord audience, right? Because Discord has their own terms of service that we need to abide by. We're kind of in the market of financial products, so we need to look at everyone very considerately before they even go out. And when you say what if there's a bias, like this is going to be overly positive or whatever, right? When we do any type of sponsored news, it's going to be purely objective. So what are they doing, right? If they're releasing a service, then that's all we're saying. They're releasing this service. Maybe you should check it out. Maybe they're releasing a mint. We're not saying they're releasing a mint. You got to mint it. No, we're saying, okay, they're doing a mint. Maybe you should check it out. Right. Yeah. So, we don't want to be the people who make the decisions for the consumer. Right. We don't want to push it towards a certain angle. If your announcement, if whatever your news is positive enough and what people and piques people's interest, they will go out and seek that themselves. Right.
Okay.
That's
the good thing about financial news, though, is like to a certain degree. And for example, it's been kind of a hairy political situation around the world. And I started reading the Wall Street Journal instead of reading regular news, because if you follow the financials on most things can make the best sense, right? So if you're adding financials, which in most cases you are, like floor price went up, floor price went down, you're at least adding something in there that is completely like as it is, or factual as it happened, that people can judge for themselves what the words say and what the numbers say, and they can make a more well-rounded judgment, I think. So it's a good niche to be in terms of unbiased, I guess, or as unbiased as it gets.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add here is one thing to understand about the positioning of Syndicate is we're, as much as we have news, like in a daily newsletter, we're more of a news infrastructure platform rather than a news agency. So like for example, like the news we have is aggregated. It's not original content other than the Web3. Some of the NFT reporting is original, as in like we're simplifying, we're paraphrasing like true announcements. But we're not actually creating content like syndicate news content, and we're not like promoting a story, right? We're not writing stories, we're writing facts. And that's the whole kind of what we're doing with Syndicate. So, and this kind of ties into our larger vision and strategy within Web3 is giving yourself options. Right. So if we ever determine, okay, we have this platform, it looks appropriate for us to pursue the news route, we'll go down the news route. Right. If we figure out, okay, it makes more sense for us to go down the infrastructure route, we'll go down the infrastructure route. Right. And we're not pigeonholing ourselves, because we understand like ultimately other people can come up, the space could change, the desire for information could be different. And as a result, we're leaving our options open there. So we do have directions in mind and where we want to take things, but we are open to what makes the most sense, right? And this kind of goes back into parts of our other conversation. One of the biggest strengths of Syndicate is our polling ability. We're in over 160 communities, and we reached like 400,000 people. And that's a user base of which we can rapidly iterate our platform and get rapid feedback on. Who else can do that? Who else can do that, right? Like that's one of our inherent strengths of which we can capitalize on and grow our network through.
As we grow with the polling too, you know, Syndicate has really been built on the back of feedback. You know, from our earliest people who have been in the network, like Pumas, for example, they were the third server in our network, and they actually gave us a ton of feedback at the very beginning, and we added the polling feature because of Pumas actually. So, you know, there's a lot of things, and the TLDR as well was added because of them. So with this polling, if people don't like our news and they think, you know, it's becoming a little bit more biased, if we've introduced bias, then we're gonna know, and we can change.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's a definitely interesting way to do it. And like, what are the requirement of like your own filters, like to be featured in the Syndicate feed? Like, I know, so you're doing it manually, etc. Like, do you, I don't know, like filter out any like pre-mint project that want to just announce their mint, and you want to target more like not the blue chip project, but like more established project on the chain to avoid like to distribute the news that will be the next rug next week?
Okay, so this is my section, which is at the NFT news, and oftentimes I avoid newly minted projects because I don't have enough. I want people to read the news, but I don't want, you know, to push out news that you know, the people could be incentivized to buy, right? Because some new projects they pump, and then people will get in on the pump. I want to oftentimes push news that of more established projects. So I'm not necessarily blue chips of projects that have been around for a long time. So I'm not, you know, always doing Decod3rs or Decod3rs or something like that. We've done really, really small projects that are below 0.2 Sol. We've done the bluest of chips. So it's whatever is relevant of that day, and we have it in mind that does this news, do people think does this news is it deemed as negative or positive? Is it open-ended, right? And is it something that people will be interested in and will be incentivized to look into?
Okay. So yeah. Like, what's your targeted audience? Like, are we talking like about like, do you write your news and selected your news for like the OG of Solana who know what they're doing, or like the everyone and even like the people who just started like buying NFTs?
Oh yeah, it's definitely for everyone. If you read the news, it's like the NFT news in particular is always 1 to 2 sentences, and it's super sweet, concise news. They're gonna understand everything that's going on. If they don't, or they want more information, we have a link to our source underneath. So if they want to read more into it, they can just look at the source. But yeah, we keep it very concise.
Oh, that's cool. Yes, Vpiph, I think do you have
I appreciate it. My ADD appreciates it because I can get through it all before it's like, oh, look, a butterfly. Brevity is great in the space because people do not have the attention span for much. So what you're providing is perfect.
And is there like a way to have that kind of news outside, like a kind of aggregation outside of Discord, or you want to focus on Discord? And I don't know, like have you can imagine even like a Twitter community also, like when you can tweet to your community or like the people who follows you inside these Twitter communities, or even I don't know, like it's not really the same medium, but like having a daily newsletter or something. Is that something you was thinking about? Yeah.
Yes, Socrates.
This is something I can touch on. Yeah. So one thing we've been doing, so actually low-key been dropping the ball on this. I should be posting a Twitter thread every day. That's like a news wrap-up. It's been kind of rough for the last couple of days, but I'll be posting it shortly, like immediately after this interview. And basically what we do is, in terms of community building, we're not really focusing on Twitter at the moment. It's mainly Discord centric. But in terms of Twitter campaigning and content creation and so on and so forth, there's a couple of different things we're doing with Syndicate. And one is the news thread, which is a daily news wrap up of basically, it's a just a list of the content that's on our Discord news, right? So it's going to be the 3 NFT news posts, the 5 DeFi/crypto news posts, and then just a quick call to action to our Discord. And we should have that live pretty much every day on the news we post from Syndicate. So if you don't check Discord, you can always check our Twitter account, Syndicate Create Twitter account, and kind of get the information from there. But some other stuff we're doing, just to kind of rope in our whole Twitter strategy, some other things we're doing is the show I host every day called Making Time.
Yes.
I kind of touched on that earlier. It's a quick 45-minute interview, 30 to 45-minute interview where I interview creators about their story. And that's a big thing we're doing to kind of connect creators, find them, get them into our community, learn more about their stories, and give them a platform to kind of talk more about what they got going on. We try to target artists, project owners, space hosts. We're kind of all over the place there. We've got some other stuff coming up. We're going to be hosting a new Twitter space called Bigger Picture, or The Bigger Picture, where we ask projects more about what they got going on in the space and learn more about that, kind of dig deep about stuff like their legal structure, as well as their community-centric ideas and how they're pushing their community. And we got some other cool spaces lined up and things like that. But as it stands, we are largely focusing on our Discord right now, but that will be changing pretty quickly. So,
Nice. Yeah. Let's expand the brand.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. And that, have you seen any numbers going down because of the bear market? Or people still follow the news even if they stay because they stay for the tech?
The bear market is actually a great place for Syndicate, because the bear market is where you see hidden gems, right? And oftentimes when you're when you're in the Web3 space or NFT space, you hold a million billion projects, right? I probably hold upwards of 50, and I can't keep up with 50 different projects. So Syndicate kind of sheds light on those low-key announcements that went under, and such as the blue chips. You might know the news of the blue chips all the time. We try to not cover that too often, but the mid caps and the low caps, you might have forgot about them. And in the bear market, we shine light on everybody.
Yeah, that's an interesting take to do that, and it's kind of like the same thesis for Decod3rs when I want at scale to have content creators becoming not influencers but project ambassadors, basically over a long-term period of time, that to push a specific project that you love and that doing that on your platform, which could be again Twitch, Twitter, or even on YouTube. And I think we are on the same topic here, the same thesis, which is cool.
I love it.
Yeah, that's nice. Yes, Vpiph? No.
What?
No, I saw you wanted to say something. Maybe I'm wrong.
Not necessarily.
That's
no,
cool.
But I mean, I have questions if you want me to ask a question.
Go for it.
Okay, I was curious. What do you think the most powerful? Well, first of all, you guys are the kings of pivoting. I tell you this all the time, so I know that the power of pivoting at this point. But what would you say is your most the most powerful lesson you've learned while being in Web3?
They're still telling.
Yeah, it's a good question. So you said the most powerful lesson we've learned in Web3?
Yeah.
I think pivoting is a pretty big one. I think one thing I really learned, Jericho will have his own answer, but one thing I've really learned through Making Time is how accessible people are truly. A lot of people are always down to have really awesome conversations and learn more about each other. And it really just takes the right questions, the right questions really. And I kind of live by this mantra, great questions make magic. And I truly, wholly believe that in all situations, right? Whether that be one-on-one conversations, that be in group settings, that be, with a friend, a parent, anyone, you can really make magical experiences just by having these deeper conversations. And I think in Web 2, I think I understood that, but in Web 3, something about it here, the culture we have, the accessibility we have with one another has shown me that deeper connections can be made at the drop of a hat. It really is that simple, and more often than not, we think it's more complex than that, but it really isn't. But if that and pivoting, the concept of pivoting and having your options open, were also some really important lessons I learned.
Me and Socrates are on the same exact wavelength. I think I have a different way to word this, but when we entered the space, we were basically like, we didn't know anything about Solana. We didn't really know much about NFTs. Like, minted a few, we're in a few communities, but it wasn't enough definitely not enough to run a project, I don't think, with HV. But what we learned was, just go out there and just talk to people. If you want to navigate NFTs in particular, when this market is crazy and most of the times your bags will go to zero, you're going to need to learn from somebody. And early on in my career, I within my first month, actually, I talked to Drax actually in a voice call, and it was a one-on-one, and he told me a lot of amazing things, and that's why I rep a Fox, is largely because of Drax. Another thing too is, I won't mention them because we can't, but me and Socrates, we randomly jumped into a voice call in Baroku one time. They were in community chat, and it was two guys, two project owners, and yeah, they grilled us for 3 hours basically at 5 a.m. and that was a really insightful experience. But yeah, just going out and reaching out and learning from people and networking with people is so powerful. Socrates can attest, like in particular, because he started with Soul Blitz and then he moved his way up to Trust, and now he's huge in Trust. He's any big project coming out, Socrates might have done their server, so just connecting with people gives you so much more opportunity.
And one thing that's and it's crazy, dude, like Jericho mentions my Soul Blitz story. So the whole reason I'm able to do my security job and whatever is because one day I saw Spoonicus in a voice chat in Cybervillains, and I intended to buy Cybervillains to flip it because I thought the chart looked good. I happened to join that community, give him some feedback, and that opened a whole world of possibility for me. And that's kind of the crazy thing about anything, right? It's these small conversations that you think may be insignificant can blossom into something far bigger than you ever imagined. So absolutely.
100%.
Jess says strong home community really helps early in the NFT journey. I am a testament of that, because I know this guy because he was like my home community, Wastelanders, and Jazz, who's sending the thing. But also, I think that what we're talking about is actually very Solana centric, and we're so lucky with that everybody's pretty accessible on Solana. I didn't feel the same vibe on ETH, and it's so much bigger of a pool as well, and there's so much more money, I guess, on the line in a lot of these cases, so people are a little bit more cagey. But like, it kind of blows my mind, like sometimes when I'm on a speaker panel with someone, like you guys probably know, and I use this example all the time, it blows my mind when I'm on a speaker panel with props, because when I started just investigating NFTs, I started in a clubhouse space that props used to speak in regularly, and to like be on speaker panels with him and him ask me questions and like treat me as if I'm an authority in something is crazy to me. Still to this day, like every time Props is on the thing, I'm like, hey Props, what's up? And he'll be like, what's happening? Or he'll ask me a question. I'm like, why are you asking me a question? Like, I don't know, you're the authority. And it's kind of the same with you, Jericho, because like when I first entered the space, I would send you messages because I didn't want to like ask in like big forums, or I didn't understand something, and I'd be like, yo, can you explain this to me? Or can you tell me what's happening here? I don't understand. So that we're like friends basically is kind of crazy as well. But I think that's the power. I think that's the power of the community that we are in too, definitely. I was going to say something else, but I can't remember. I got all emotional. Sorry.
That's great.
And another comment from Jess about like the community. Yeah, like basically community are like probably like the biggest utility that you can have like in an NFT collection, which is interesting to highlight too, because on ETH, like if there is not this feeling of community, but like collection like Bored Ape and like Azuki, etc., are still able to create that biggest collection on ETH. We thought this is like the community completely out of the scope of those collections. I don't think so, because like a Bored Ape community is quite strong. They just don't mess up with all of the collection below them, but like they still there is still a huge appartenance of that elite group, and that's it, right? Like, so there is like some part of the community dynamics that probably like less volatile than Solana by itself. But yeah, maybe the top 10 collection on ETH have cracked the code of the community side of it, and that's why they are successful too.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say that blew my mind, I just remembered, sorry, Jericho, is when Socrates asked me to do Making Time, I'm like, me? Why would you want me on your show? Like, I don't know, my imposter syndrome immediately kicked in, but like it was so cool and it was so fun to do, actually.
It was a great show. Yeah, absolutely fantastic show. Yeah.
And like that kind of like, it's something for me, like for me, like if you tell me like 2 years ago that I would be like on YouTube, like building content and stream, like I would tell you to fuck off. And but like just the difference between like just like you doing something and you not doing it, it's just like you do it and that's it. You will ask question later and that's it. Like there is no, I don't think there is like a world where like you're jumping on a space and your whole life will going to shit because you have talked too much in a space, except if you have like if you are like SBF, maybe like you shouldn't do that if you're that kind of guys.
Maybe not.
But but if you're just like a normal person and like just go out there and expose like yourself to like the crypto Twitter, the Twitter space ecosystem, like the risk reward of like doing that is way too high, like to not doing it. Like it's madness. It's crazy.
Yeah. So if you told me 2 months before now that I'd be doing this, absolutely not. And 2 months before I started doing Twitter spaces, absolutely not. And yet here I am doing both.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's and like honestly, doing a daily show on Twitter Space, it's like the commitment required to do that, it's massive. So, and somewhere, if you don't like it, like if you don't like it, you have to also like you enjoy the ride. And like if you ask yourself, 6 months ago, if you like let's do a daily show for the next 10 years, you will say no, never, not gonna happen. But in 9 years, when you will have doing like your you will have done like your daily show for 10 years, you will say, okay, the journey was fun.
Yeah. It also ties into like the thing. Sorry, Socrates.
No, you're good. You're good.
But the thing that you were talking about earlier, Socrates, where it's like, you know, they're people who are accessible. Like there's a credo that I live in from the kind of work I do IRL, where it's like, don't ask, don't get. So, you know, I always ask because there's a chance I'll get it. But if I don't get it, I'm not necessarily offended. And I feel like I run by that in this space a lot. And I hardly ever get told no, really. I say no in my brain more than I get told no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's some life lesson here.
One thing I wanted to mention, kind of tying it back to the question you asked earlier, which was like, what was one of the best lessons we've learned through our experience? So I've actually, since joining Web3, I've radically changed as a person. And Jericho, just for background, Jericho and I have known each other for, I don't even know how many years.
We're 10 years or something.
Yeah, for a long time.
Since middle school.
For life.
Yeah. So we've been homies for a long time, us and our other co-founder, Bonzo. But I think one thing that really changed for me is being able to love the process for what it is. And I think this was a really hard lesson to learn in life. Like, I think a lot of people don't kind of think of it that way, you know, like, and back when I was in high school and I was a lot younger, I was very results oriented, right? Like, I wanted to get into the best colleges. Like I wanted to get the best scholarships. I had to get X grade. And it was more about the end goal than the journey itself. And I think one thing I've really learned through all the tumultuous journey we've had here in Web3 is to appreciate the process for what it is, right? And Vince, you kind of touched on this, right? Which is hosting a daily show is such a huge commitment, right? Whenever you put it into the scope of a 10-year time span, it's like, holy dude, that's 3,000 shows, right? But if you're just in it for the process, you know, in the day-to-day, you take it that small and you go about that, you kind of start seeing the world a little bit differently, you know? And
100%.
And that's something I think, if I had to re-answer your question, V, I think that's what I would say. It's really looking at things on the grander scale and appreciating the process, and then having the end goal be kind of just, the cherry on top. So yeah, I just want to add that.
Cool.
To get your answer.
That's super cool. I guess for my space in particular, every morning I have this moment where I'm like, nobody's going to show up, and people show up inevitably every day. And I'm always surprised for some reason. But I remember one guy came in one day, like in the, it was a really, really bad week for Solana. Like everybody was down bad. And he's like, the name of your show, it suggests that like Solana is going up. And I'm like, no, well, yes, it does. But at the same time, even if it doesn't matter what Solana is doing, we're still here and the vibes are high. And he was like, oh. And like, for some reason, he hadn't thought of it from that perspective. And I just, like, that's what I put out into like the world is my intention, like daily as my space. And new people come. I've had a lot of new people come this week, and they're all like, oh my God, I love the vibe. And like that warms my heart because, I intentionally every day try to put that vibe out. And that's, but I don't put it out for the whole week. I put it out day by day, and I recreate it day by day. And yeah, that really helps with like longevity and happiness and just being overall satisfied with what you're doing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Every hike starts with the first step. It's probably not that, but
is that the original Socrates that you're quoting now?
No, like could have been, but not really, because I need to translate Socrates to English, and I can't do that right now. Not possible.
I think what's funny about our names is we really had no basis for our names. Like, I think one day
it was weird, how we came up with the name.
It was like really one day, because we were making a Discord. We knew Discords were important for Web3 communities, so we're like, all right, let's make a Discord, and we were making new business Discord accounts, and we're just like, we need sophisticated names, right? So I just kind of happened to pick Socrates, and Jericho just happened to kind of pick Jericho. Like, there was really no rhyme or reason to it. It just kind of happened. So
they are sophisticated. I
Yeah.
can tell you the reason for my name. V is the first letter of my name, my government name, and I'm born on the Feast of Vpiphany, so I personalized it, so it's Vpiphany.
Cool. Okay, that's nice. I didn't know that. That's nice. That's cool.
There you have my origin story. Hey.
We're interviewing you now.
Yeah. Okay, so I would like to circle back to like the Syndicate's NFTs drop, because then we can collect some alpha from you guys. What can you tell us about this NFT mint, and what's gonna be all those benefits from that, from like the news feed to the older side of it?
Yeah. So, man. Okay. You're pressing.
Let's go.
The NFTs. Okay. Yeah. So Syndicate, we're having an NFT collection called Synths. The supply TBA, mint date TBA, mint price TBA, and blockchain even TBA. Still not sure about the chain. Most likely will be on Solana, but we see the value of other chains. And the thing that we've learned in the space is the fundraise is very important, and we need to have the fundraise to fuel our goals for the future, right? As for the holder benefit, right? We wanted Syndicate, like a big one was our affiliate program. So a big thing with this mint is we want it to be a marketing device for the Syndicate network, growing our news network into a million different servers. And a part of that is not just the mint itself. The mint, a mint is a huge catalyst for just getting your name out there. But we want to introduce an affiliate program where holders can onboard servers into our network and they get SOL in return. And, the amounts and how it works is also TBA. Right now, we're just solely focused on growing the network. But we're introducing our sponsored news platform as well. We're going to allow holders to get discounts and special offers within that as well. We do a lot of beta testing in the back end, and we're going to allow holders to get access to beta features. And another thing too is always community, right? Being in the community where all the news is, all the we're going to have new additional news offerings, and those will be free within our server. So another benefit. But yeah, I mean, community and being known as the community for getting all the alpha first, knowing what the whole ecosystem is doing is really important to us. And there's a million different ideas of what we want the NFT to do, but right now is definitely just growing the network is our priority.
And that's interesting because like your project is also like cross community by essence, right?
Yeah.
So like having that aspect of it can like multiply your growth like quite easily, or at least it's one more like vehicles to grow like even faster. So that's cool. That's interesting.
Well, with our mints, there's a reason why we're growing the network before we even do a mint, right? We hate projects that promise something, but they actually have nothing to show for it.
To show off,
we want our mint to be, we like to call a no-brainer mint. We're in this many servers in this amount of time, and we're in this many top quality projects. Maybe I should give Syndicate a mint, right?
Yeah.
And another part of our mindset is we want to prove ourselves to the community before we ask for a lot of money.
Yeah.
So the supply will probably be on the smaller end, and the mint price also on the lower end. And we intend to do graduated mints. So in the future, we're going to do a Gen 2, maybe a Gen 3, maybe a Gen 4. We're not sure. But all of that will be funding devices to grow the network even faster.
Nice. That it's speaking to me because that's probably the approach we're going to get with Decoders too. So that's cool. That's definitely nice.
Yeah, love to hear that. Yeah.
I think it's like, and with this market condition, it's also like the right way to do it anyway. Yes, Vpiphany?
I was wondering, Vittler, are you joining Syndicate? Because it feels like you all speak the same language. Like,
I mean,
what was it? Efficiency nerds,
yes.
Minting the same way.
Cleaning the emails inbox to zero.
Is this the? Oh my God. We're not going to start that discussion again today. But I have successfully kept it at 225. Thank you. Which is miraculous for me. So yes. So is this early alpha that you are leaving us and going to Syndicate?
I mean, like, that every introduction that you have made, like, to me, like, I'm stealing your friends, like, from the industry. So I'm pretty sure, like, with Jericho and Socrates, we're going to be best bro in the next couple of hours.
Yeah.
So,
and here's the thing about that, you guys. He then reintroduces me back to my own friends and goes, do you know this? Do you know him?
Yeah.
And I'm like, anyways.
Yeah, it's like the cycle of introduction, which is cool.
It's the circle of life in introduction.
Yes, exactly. I think we can start to wrap up the show because like we're already like above the 1 hour mark. But I wanted to ask you this question, Socrates, because I was listening to your space yesterday morning at 5 a.m. my time, and
quite early.
That was early, but that was really interesting. What makes like a great interviewer from your perspective?
Yeah, this is a good question. And so I love interviews. So it's crazy how much research I actually do in interviews. And you don't really see it. So I think, and I'll start this with the story and then I'll end it with a lesson here. So I think one thing about interviewing that I've learned, right? If you go back to the very first episodes of Making Time, you actually won't be able to find them because I forgot to record them. But if you go to the next early episodes, you'll definitely see that the evolution of the show, right? And whenever I started early, I thought it was important to have my questions written down ahead of time. I thought it was important to kind of ask, I had questions like, what is your favorite book? Who was your favorite author? Like stuff like that, like have these kind of weird questions. And over time, you go through making time. I really discovered that the best questions, one, flow really well within each other, right?
Yeah.
It kind of fits a vibe of a conversation. And number two, they're a little bit more introspective than you might think, right? I think when it comes to having a good interview, the interviewer must keep in mind that the end goal is not the answers. The end goal is the feeling or the vibe of the interview, right? The overall lesson that's taken away from that at the macro scope. So if you go through and you listen to Making Time or my show now, you'll really see that I aim for this more introspective, kind of inspirational, humbling, kind of grounded vibe. And you can tell that by the type of questions I ask, right? And I've had people come to me and approach me like, Socrates, how do you ask these questions? Do you have a bank? Like, what does that look like? Yes, I do have a bank, but is it my Bible or am I religious about it? Absolutely not. More often than not, 90% of the questions I come up with are on the fly, related to the conversation, because good interviews are really just deep conversations, and it's okay. And you can obviously see I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but it's okay if that goes, if that goes a different direction from what you originally anticipated. And I think those are the kind of interviews that matter. It's those deeper conversations that ask these insightful questions that sometimes you don't get asked, and then that maybe lead to something that's a little bit more important. So I think, long story short, what makes a good interviewer and what I would recommend to people is care less about the quality of the questions and more about the quality of the conversation. And I think once you get a hang of that in the flow of a conversation and what makes sense and what doesn't, the good questions will come naturally. You'll start thinking of them, and you'll be able to pick apart the person. It's a really cool experience. It's a really cool process. And I think, and I'll wrap it up here, but I think it's a really good skill for a lot of different people to learn. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be a writer, or you can be a project owner, or whatever. I think if you can get into the habit of having these interviews structured in a good way, you can really tap into the potential of people and show them that they're capable of doing so much more than they ever thought possible. So that would be my advice. Yeah.
Thank you, Oprah Winfrey. Thank you so much. That was good. Yeah, and that's like, honestly, that's transpire in your like the interview style now, like at least for the one that I've listened to like directly yesterday, because I need to catch up on what you have like built so far, man. Like I'm behind like in terms of like content on Twitter Space and what you produce, so I will catch up soon. Because I can definitely learn like from your style, and like that's basically also like the same way like we prepare this interview like with Vpiphany, like we talk about like the talking points, and when we send you the document of like to show you like the flow of like the question, etc., that we wanted to talk about. But again, like we didn't talk about like everything that was on the paper, and like from my side, it's just like reassuring to have that talking point. I need to stop doing that. But like it's reassuring like to have like a flow of question that I can use as backup. But then like again, like what you saw, it was like what you said was like like having an organic conversation. It's like way more important than just like nail every question that you thought about, and that is way better to ask than the conversation that could have gone from organic questions. Like 100% with that.
Exactly. Yeah. And this show is a good example of that, right? Like you put together an agenda, right? But we didn't follow that verbatim, right? I mean, there's some of these questions we did hit, and probably more some of the more important questions, but largely like you get equivalent value, if not more value from this, instead of if you just ask those questions, right? So this is always the way to go with interviews. And I think a lot of these newer interviewers think they have to have it railroaded, right? You have directions of which you must follow, and that's just not true. That's just not true at all. So yeah, I totally resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah, like it's more like go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that when you're starting out, like I remember the first few times I like interviewed or had people on my show that I was that people were depending on me to ask questions. I was, I guess, anxious, but also it was I wasn't even listening to what they were saying. I was just like, how am I going to get this next question out? So, I think that it comes with practice and comfort levels as well. Some of it for sure.
Yeah. And one thing I want to add to that, I agree, bro. Oh man, one of the toughest making times I've ever hosted. I had a speaker, nothing against him. He's an awesome guy, but his responses were like 30 seconds. I had 30 seconds to come up with another question because you've got to keep that conversation going. Like, I totally get that. That was the most stressful show I had. But the lesson I learned from that is like, it is a skill. It really is a skill you need to practice for sure. And I think that's one of the biggest, that's why I'm kind of grateful making time is a daily show, right? Because whenever you have a daily show, you force yourself to get uncomfortable and you just rack up practice. Right, I have 20 hours basically of interviews that are below my belt, and I've done like 40 shows, and that's just something you wouldn't get otherwise, right? So definitely one thing I would encourage is if there's something you want to improve at, do it daily. Do it. Find a way to pressure yourself and force yourself to do it daily, and you will be impressed by the amount of improvement you show for sure.
100%. And like, who do you think who's making a great show, like the host or the guest?
So the host, I think if the show is bad, it's always the host's fault. And the reason I say this is because, as an interviewer, in my perspective, it's up to the host to ask questions that highlight the speaker. So if someone has a certain tone or they have a certain skill, or let's say they monologue often, it's important as the speaker to keep that in mind and ask a question tailored to that. Right. So if someone, let's just say someone intends to monologue, I'll ask them to tell me a story. Right, because they tend to be good at that. That's what they're good at, telling a story, how they felt about that stuff and stuff along those lines. Don't ask them questions like, what did you eat for breakfast? That's not going to get you anywhere, right? Like, leverage this. It's your job as the host, as the host to double down on the speaker's strengths. And that's a skill, right? Like you just got to figure it out, read the vibe, pick up on their tonalities, what's important to them, and capitalize on that. So, and that's why I think, and I'm going up on rants, man. You're really tapping into what I'm passionate about here. But that's what I think is so interesting about hosting shows like this is the capability of unearthing stories that never would have came out otherwise. So that's my take. Yeah.
Yeah, like that is psychology behind it, that it's fascinating. And honestly, it's also what I like with NFT and like financial products in general. It's like what people are doing for when they end up with expensive JPEGs in their wallet, or how they act, or what decision they take, etc. It's fascinating to me. And same thing like for the content creation process by itself, like the way you can turn like event or like a discussion or like point of view, it's all of that come from like how you think and what's your mindset and what like the state of mind you are in at that moment. And that's so cool. Like the psychology behind it, it's cool. Man, we need to do an episode 2, man, about like all of those process and like point of view about content creation. But yeah, for sure, that could be cool. Yeah. See, Vpiphany, see, we are friends. We're with Jericho, Socrates, my bros. We're gonna do another second co-hosted like stream. That's gonna be nice.
Great. I'm psyched. I'm excited.
So thank you so much for the introduction. Yes, I can see that.
You're welcome. But I would like to say, like Socrates, there are a few. I would say your show, Making Time. Cliff the Gully used to have a show, an interview show.
Cliff, my dog, bro.
Yeah, Cliff, and now Props is doing a show through DAPS. I would say like those are the top tier like interview shows, and you all have different styles, but they're all really incredible to watch. So like, yes, I do interviews on MySpace. It's not every day, but mine's a lot more of just an informal conversational thing, unless I have like a special guest or whatever. But I went to like a lot of Cliff spaces and I'll never forget like the day that I was like, wow, I need to listen to this one interview like 2 or 3 times, because he interviewed Pit the Panda, who I find a very inaccessible person. Like, I am a holder in his project, and going to his AMAs was just like the most painful thing, because like nothing made sense to me ever. And Cliff did this interview, and it really humanized him, and like you really saw like the full person, like the full like 360 of this person. He wasn't just some guy talking on an AMA or some person that you've been told is a genius. Like, you actually saw like very human elements to him and the genius elements to him. And yeah, just you don't even realize it when you're watching a really good, or listening to a really good interview, because it's so organic and just so free flowing and so comfortable to be a part of it. And I definitely think that you have that down. Cliff and Props most definitely have that down.
Thank you, for sure. I appreciate that.
Proud of you guys. It's good. You're nailing. It's nice. Yeah, so I think, yeah, guys, like it's time to wrap up the show, and like have two last question for you. Even VP, I'm gonna ask you this one. Okay, ladies first. What's the question you wish people ask you but they never do? VP, what would be the answer to that question?
How do you deal with Fitler on a daily basis?
Yeah,
Just
and
kidding.
you wish they ask you that.
I wish they'd ask me that.
Yeah.
It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Everyone.
I'm an easy boy.
No, you're an easy. Wow, we're not gonna go there. This is gonna stay clean, but okay.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
He's very easy to deal with. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Socrates.
So the question. So yeah, the question is? What question do I wish I was asked more often?
Yes.
I've seen tons of questions in my day. You know, I've done my research. I don't really think like. What do I wish I was asked? I mean, there's a lot of stories I would love to tell. So, I mean, any questions that kind of bring forth that, like, how were you different in high school would be a question I would love to answer. There's a lot of different questions like that. And like, what does the color yellow mean to me is also another question I would love to answer as well. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay.
Like what? Yeah, it's kind of a lot of those more like philosophical questions I'd love to answer for sure.
Man, okay, so I think it's gonna be like too long to talk about that like in the wrap-up session, but like we definitely need an episode 2, man.
yeah, for sure, we can make that happen.
And Jericho, what about you? Like, are you going to answer like what's the purple color is gonna represent to you?
No, I don't know, Socrates. That's kind of a weird question. But you know, me and Socrates are different here. I like controversial questions. Anything that has controversy, especially like of course in Web3 world and whatever. I can't ever talk about like politics, but I love talking about politics. But if I do, you know, I can't. You know what I mean? So
that's an episode 3, bro.
Yeah, I love that. There's a guy on Twitter I follow. I think his name is Flint the Human Robot. And man, this guy is so funny. He makes tweets about politics. I've never seen anyone do it, and it's so funny. He posts memes about it too. He makes them. But yeah, I do like controversial questions a lot, especially on you know, it's politics, NFT projects. Me and Socrates have like very contrary views on the whole space. And yeah, we're not very butterfly and rainbows, you know.
Nice.
we see a lot of negatives in a lot of things.
Okay, guys. So like next, like when you have something to announce to the world, we can do another stream. We do like the first part, like the first 30 minutes, 20 minutes about like Syndicate update, whatever is it that you want to announce, and the next 5 hours will be about Socrates' deep philosophical question and Jericho politic point of view.
It'll be what's the color yellow mean to Socrates, and keeping it real with Jericho.
Yes.
Jericho actually is also a big foodie, so that's one thing that we bonded on. He put food pics on the timeline, and I joined a group chat with him where we post food pics. So
okay, so what's the dog's gonna eat? Nice, that's cool.
Chef Dow.
Nice. Oh, that's the chef though. Is what about? Nice. Okay, so looks like we have like episode like what about now? 4 and 5. Let's do like a Marvel trilogy movies together. That's gonna be nice. And last question. It's all about this question is just for me. Like, which guest should we have on the show next? And with and you can make the introduction.
Oh, we have to make the introduction, or like
yes,
we could.
Like it's easier. It's easier.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say George, the Boogle. But I don't think I can make that introduction.
Okay.
But maybe Socrates. You have a lot of people.
There's a lot of people I've talked to who have been really interesting. I just got a conversation. Yeah, I just got a conversation. Yesterday's Making Time was Litecoin Yagami. He's a super awesome dude. It was interesting picking his brain and learning more about him. I think some interesting people for you guys. I think the No Fluff crew would be pretty cool. Like, I think Lucifer, Salami Mami, Benny Threads, Coach would also be. I think Coach would probably be a really cool guy to have in your guys' show. Coach and Gogo, they have their own show called the Roadmap Show. It's pretty neat. I love what they got going on there. Those would be some pretty cool people to bring on as well. And I can connect you guys for sure. There's some awesome people.
That's cool.
I'd love to.
I know Lucy and Mommies and Gogo and Coach.
I think Genuine Articles from GGSG. He's a great speaker. He's a visionary. He's a very inspiring guy too. So Genuine, I could probably, get you guys.
Wonderful.
I love him. He's the best. He's the best.
Thank you so much for the content lineup for March and April. That's gonna be enough. Thank you so much, guys.
yeah, for sure.
Do you have like any last announcements, Alpha, or last word to say to the people who are watching the stream right now, or are gonna watch the VOD once he's gonna be live on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is Syndicate. It's free bot. We provide free daily news to your server.
Yes.
NFT news, crypto news, daily market insights, completely free. So, visit our website, join the network. Another thing is Syndicate since mint. The mint date is still TBA. But if you purchase an HVW NFT on Magic Eden, you get a free airdrop. So whatever mint price it is, you get a free airdrop. Every time we've announced it, some things happen. Okay. So it's great. But those are my main two things.
Thanks for the news. That's cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, now what I would say is just if you're looking for a community of people who are trying to, make it happen in the space and grow and learn from one another, I'd love to see you guys in the Syndicate Create Discord. And we're gonna make some cool stuff happen there for sure.
I mean, I'm there.
Yep, you're there. We'd love to see more people there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will be there.
Come on and join us. Sweet. It was so nice to hang out with you guys. Like, really, really a great pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say too.
Yeah, it's great. It was a fantastic show. The vibes were amazing.
Thank you so much.
Your Ute hoodie is just I'm feeling the Ute energy right now.
Yes, that's what we want, man.
God, every time we have an interview, somebody compliments him on the Ute hoodie, and I'm like,
it goes hard.
It's dope. It's dope hoodie.
Cool. It is dope. Yeah.
But
so now
there's no but.
There is no but. It's just like now I'm gonna have like extreme FOMO because I don't.
Okay.
But that's okay. That's okay.
Life. I mean, I think it's. Oh no, I think I can buy it more. I think it's still available. Or maybe not. Yeah, let's say no. So that you will still have FOMO anyway. That's cool.
Yeah, but thanks for having us. This was an awesome show.
No, this was an awesome.
Thank you so much, man.
It's probably one of the best interviews I've had. So thank you so much.
Oh, amazing.
That's because of Vpiph. She made the show great. The whole of the course, the show are bangers. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, VP, for like your time. Like we were like, yeah, you take way more than the initially. I think I hope you're okay with like the 25 minutes delay, but yeah, it is what it is.
It's what it is.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching the show. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Decod3rs YouTube channel, because like it's gonna be mandatory for upcoming mint too. Follow Jericho, Vpiphany, and Socrates because like you saw it during 1.5 hours, right? The great content, great personalities. So yeah, follow them. All of the links are in the description if you're watching on YouTube and you want to do that anyway. So yeah, let's check the links. Thank you so much again. And yeah, I will see you in the episode 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 10 of like the Jericho, Socrates, and Vpiphany show. That's gonna be nice. Bye, guys.